order at 5:15 p.m. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Thurlow, would you please conduct the roll call?
Certainly. Mr. Castine.
Present.
Mr. Bizzato.
Here.
Mr. Hall.
Here.
Mr. Henry is excused this evening. Mr. Hughes.
Here.
Mr. Kretzer is excused this evening. Mr. Perrier.
Here.
Mr. Potiker.
Here.
Mr. Tibbins is excused this evening. Ms. Waldron.
Yes, here.
We have a quorum, Chair.
All legislators have received a copy of stenographer's minutes of the February 9th, 2022 regular session. If there are no additions, deletions, or corrections, I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Hughes, second by Mr. Bizzato. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I guess I scared everybody away. I will now recognize those in the audience who wish to share their thoughts and concerns with the legislature. Please raise your hand if you wish to be recognized and state your name and address for the record. In accordance with the rules of order, all speakers will be limited to 5 minutes. Now, would you like to talk?
No, we'll do that under,
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
sorry.
We will now go on to committee reports. I will call on the chairperson of each committee to in alphabetical order by committee, starting with Buildings and Grounds, Mr. Bizzato.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The Buildings and Grounds Committee met on Monday, February 14th. James Cleveland, the superintendent of Buildings and Grounds, was present to provide us an update on the government center roof replacement, provide status on the 2021 master plan, and to discuss the 2022 master plan. The committee agreed to forego borrowing for the 2022 master plan and agreed to move forward with a roof analysis of the probation department, highway department, and human services building roofs. Once the results of the studies are done, the committee will formulate a plan on how to address the situation. The next Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting is tentatively scheduled for Monday, March 14th at 4:30 p.m. End of report.
Thank you, Mr. Bizzato. Children and Family Services, Mr. Potiker.
Thank you, Chairman. The Children and Family Services Committee has not met since the last regular session. The next Children and Family Services Committee meeting is tentatively scheduled for Tuesday, March 1st at 5:15 p.m. End of report.
Thank you, Mr. Potiker. Economic Development and County Operations, Ms. Waldron.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the Economic Development and County Operations Committee has not met since the last regular session. The committee was pulled on resolutions 96 or 97 on the agenda. The next Economic Development and County Operations Committee meeting is tentatively scheduled for March 9th at 4 p.m.
Thank you, Ms. Waldron. Finance, Mr. Zerlo.
Yes, sir. On behalf of Legislator Timmons, the Finance Committee has not met since the last regular session. Resolution 98, titled Authorizing Memorandum of Understanding with New England Waste Services of New York, was discussed and approved at the February 2nd meeting. And the committee was also pulled on resolutions 99 and 100 on tonight's agenda. The next Finance Committee is tentatively scheduled for Wednesday, March 2nd, 5:15 p.m.
Thank you. Health, Mr. Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Health Committee has not met since the last regular session. Tonight, present is Interim Director Deb Tackett of the Health Department, and she's going to give us a brief update on COVID numbers.
Good evening. Our COVID, we've been talking in the last few weeks, is coming down, which is the good news. As of the 22nd, our cases per 100,000, 7-day average is down to 43.7. With that being said, however, we are still number one. That's a number one we don't want. But our positivity rate, so our test positives, the average, 7-day average is down to 7.7%. We're no longer number one. Oswego County is. Our vaccinations, just so you have some background, our vaccination rates are still kind of low. especially in our younger kids. The 5 to 15-year-old, now this is the data, this is how they break it out. They didn't break it out to 5 to 11s, but 5 to 15, only 8% of them are boosted. And 16 to 19-year-olds, only 23.3% are boosted. We've been to every school. We've been to every corner of the county, community centers. We've had pop-ups in parking lots. So my feeling is we've gotten the people that want to be vaccinated and boosted. We still have some trickling in. We have our Thursday pods now at the health department rather than over at the community college because our volume's been so low. However, this week, Thursday, tomorrow, we're moving that pod over to SUNY because we are helping them try to get their students boosted. They have in the neighborhood of 300 to 400 kids that still need to be boosted. So we're going to be over there tomorrow. We have given a total, since we started vaccinating, 17,475 vaccines. That's just the health department. That doesn't take into account pharmacies, the state site that was here early on. And so now we're still like I said, they're trickling in. We're transitioning all of our COVID operations. It was split between the health, the HCS division and the HPP division. We're bringing that all back into the healthcare system. So it's no longer going to be under HPP. That transition should be completed no later than the end of next month, but I'm hoping toward the middle of the month we'll have that all finished. INQ is very, very slow. 100% are going to the virtual command center in the state, and they're sending back just the ones they have questions with. Since this all began, we have quarantined over 40,000 people, and we have isolated, which means those are the people that have been positive, almost 8,500 people. Testing is way down, even at SUNY, at Hammond Lane, and they're only doing essentially a handful. At SUNY, the quadrant site, state site, they only did 27 tests yesterday for the whole day, and they're there from 8:30 to 4.
Have we heard anything about their plans?
The last I heard was they assured us that they would be there through the end of the school year, which is to the end of June. Now, if the numbers continue to be so low, I can't speak for them. I don't know if they're going to change their mind. But right now, as of 2 weeks ago, that's what they assured us, that they would still be here through June. The hospital's still jammed up, so we're still getting people hospitalized. And that's about it with the COVID. I do have one other thing I wanted to mention is the health department wants to present to the legislature, get to know your health department training. I know that they've done that most recently. I think it was in 2020, so they haven't done it for a couple of years. And my question is, if you could let me know, you can even send me an email after you think about it, if you like, if you would want to participate, if you want that face-to-face, if you want it done virtually, just let me know so we can get that planned. We would like to do it sometime in March. We could do it during a legislature meeting or however you'd like to do that. But that's an offer from the health department to the legislature. Any questions?
Calvin?
Is it possible that our testing numbers are low because of the home test kits?
It could be. However, we just got, Erica and Kelly were just distributing test kits, and we have communities that don't even want them because they're saturated. So, and we just got notification just before I came over that the state is sending to the nursing homes. And this is a state number, so I don't know what what we'll get here in the county, but they're gonna send 1.5 million to nursing homes, and
That reflects, that's the normal number, so that's a second batch of what they previously sent.
and another 1 million to adult care. And then the schools get their own supply as well from, and that's supposed to be later this week as well.
Yes, some of the towns have said, we're good.
Yeah, they're saturated. They haven't even been able to distribute what they had previous.
If anybody wants some, let me know.
I got two in the mail today.
Oh, you got your federal
I got
government?
my-
And I still have not received mine.
I just wanted to see how long it would take and whether it came, but isn't there some concern about them freezing? So, I hope they're okay.
You had a question?
I did, yeah. I noticed the last time the website was updated was the 17th. Is that usually more timely than that, or is it just, I noticed, I just checked for the numbers this morning.
The health department's number?
Yeah,
We have backed down to once a week,
well, once a week, so.
so it should be
But
later
if
this
you
week.
want, I mean, you can get county numbers on the state site.
Yes.
Which is a day behind.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So those numbers I gave you were from the state site,
Okay.
and it's the most current.
Any other questions? Thanks, Deb.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Hughes.
The next health committee meeting is tentatively scheduled for Wednesday, March 2nd at 4:15. End of report.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Human Services, Mr. Poirier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Human Services Committee has not met since the last regular session. The next Human Services Committee meeting is tentatively scheduled for Tuesday, March 1st at 4:15 p.m. End of report.
Thanks, Mr. Poirier. Personnel, Mr. Zerlo.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, on behalf of Legislator Henry, the Personnel Committee has not met since the last regular session. Resolutions 101 through 130 have been placed on the agenda as a result of the committee's recommendation from the February 7th meeting. And the next Personnel Committee meeting is tentatively scheduled for Monday, March 7 at 5 p.m. End of report.
Thank you. Plattsburgh International Airport Committee has met earlier today. Chris Craig, the airport director, was present to discuss several resolutions, including authorizing the lease agreement with Safe Towing and Recovery LLC, and authorizing the purchasing agent to solicit bids for the exit lane, portable modifications project, and authorizing contract with Plattsburgh North Country Chamber of Commerce. Resolutions 131 through 142 have been placed on the agenda as a result of the committee's recommendation. Resolution 141 has been withdrawn. The next Plattsburgh International Airport Committee meeting is tentatively scheduled for Wednesday, March 23rd at 4 p.m. End of report. Public Safety, Mr. Castine.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The Public Safety Committee has not met since the last regular session. Resolution number 143 has been placed on the agenda as a result of the committee's recommendations from the February 7th meeting. The next Public Safety Committee meeting is tentatively scheduled for Monday, March 7th at 4 p.m. End of report.
Thank you, Mr. Castine. Transportation, Mr. Zerlo.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, on behalf of Legislator Kretzer, the Transportation Committee met on Monday, February 14th. Shannon Thayer, the planning technician for the Clinton County Public Transit, was present to discuss the budget and the cost of the bus system. Carl Weiss, the highway superintendent, was present to discuss two resolutions titled awarding bid for a one-cab chassis with dump truck body and snowplow, and amending Resolution 59 dated January 26, 2022, titled authorizing the implementation and funding 100% of the costs of a transportation project, of which qualified costs may be reimbursed from Bridge New York funds. Mr. Weiss also discussed the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration entry-level driver training tuition reimbursement program, and resolutions 144 through 146 have been placed on tonight's agenda as a result of the committee's recommendation. The next Transportation Committee is tentatively scheduled for Monday, March 14 at 5:15 p.m. End of report.
Thanks, Mr. Zerlo. Liaison reports. Board of Health, Mr. Potter.
I have my first training coming up tomorrow morning, or orientation, and other than that, no report.
Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Potter.
No report.
Clinton Community College, Mr. Mazzio.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. On Tuesday, February 22nd, 2022, I attended the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of Clinton Community College. Some things that the Kowal, the administrator in charge, discussed were, one, the college is working with Gary Douglas and the Chamber of Commerce with a grant to build a manufacturing accredited program. This will help build enrollment. Also in the works is a special veterans credit program the college will be getting with the veterans groups, and I will be talking with the county's Veterans Service Agency Director, Kevin LeBrock, to be sure he is aware of the educational options available to the veterans. The college is also working to establish a welding training center with national credentials. The program is in the final stages at this time with the lawyers and the legal issues being ironed out. I was informed that companies like Schluter, Alstrom, and Global Foundries from Vermont visit often and hire students right out of school at graduation that come out of these programs. The college representatives are working with the Assembly and the Senate reps to get state funding at pre-pandemic levels for 2022 and 2023 semesters. This will help with their financials. The college is also exploring options to house nursing students to be able to expand enrollment in this very successful program. The college is also planning on an in-person graduation this spring, which is good news to the students. The college administrator, John Kowal, and board president, Dave Favreau, have extended an invitation for all members of the legislature to get a guided tour of the facilities and even hold a general meeting in their facility boardroom if that's something we're interested in doing. I'll follow up on that with the legislators. The community, and on a big note, the Clinton Community College Board of Trustees are planning to announce around March 8th the new president of the Clinton Community College upon approval by the State University of New York trustees. They're expecting that approval around the 8th of March. End of report.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I gotta tell you, I think that's the best community college report I had in my entire tenure.
I was gonna say the same thing. I was gonna compliment you on it. That was really good. Community Service Board, Mr. Castine.
I have a good report too, no report.
Cooperative Extension has been excused. Discipline Review, there's nothing there. Grievance Committee,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Kimball has informed me that I believe a grievance committee for an issue in the Sheriff's Department is scheduled for March 18 at 2 p.m. I believe committee members have been made aware.
Inter-County, Ms. Walden.
We'll be meeting in Johnstown and Fulton County tomorrow morning.
So just as a reminder, Patty, why don't you let the board know what role Clinton County is playing this year?
We are now sharing the inter-county of the Adirondack, so we have assigned Aaron Light to come with me and be our minutes keeper, and we'll make Clinton County shine for us. I hope.
Thanks, Patty. LC and LG Regional Planning Board, Mr. Hughes.
We have not met.
Soil and Water, Mr. Perrier.
We met last week. We went over, most of our discussion was over grants that he's trying to get. And we also discussed hiring John Canoza as an engineer per diem. I believe he was an engineer before.
He still is, yeah.
So we're talking about hiring him per diem for certain projects. In the report.
Thank you. The staff members have any reports? Ms. Keller.
I would like to request an executive session to discuss pending litigation, and I'd also just like to inform the legislature that I will be out of town for the next meeting, and then Gary Rabbit will be
Mr. Zerlo.
Quick reminder, those of you who have not completed your state mandated annual sexual harassment training, to get on that, please. Because when you don't turn it in, I get yelled at.
Who was first this year?
Mr. Hughes, I think, what was it, I think, it's a good thing 65 was a passing grade.
We're not talking about passing. Who first?
That's not true, pass it right.
Just a quick question on the calendar, is the 14th,
Are those meetings going to be canceled or postponed? Or moved?
I'm sorry, go
The
ahead.
meeting's on the 14th.
Oh, yeah, so I just talked to Kim, we will, through the NISAC conference, we will gauge agenda items, most likely, buildings and grounds, might be canceled, but, we'll move the transportation, I believe,
Yeah.
we'll move transportation, to another day as appropriate.
Any other questions? Okay, before voting on the resolutions, I want to note that the majority of the resolutions have been thoroughly discussed by the appropriate committees, and the legislature is taking action tonight based on, in large part, on recommendation of the committees. Mr. Zerlo, will you please read the titles of resolutions to be acted upon?
It's certainly a lot easier without a mask, I can tell you that. Resolution number 96, authorizing payment of 2022 membership dues, county attorney.
Moved by Mr. Potiker, second by Ms. Waldron. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Perrier?
Yes.
Ms. Waldron?
Yes.
Carried.
Resolution number 97, authorizing the county treasurer to increase appropriation and corresponding revenue for the 2021-2022 snowmobile trail grant. Legislature.
Moved by Mr. Rosales, second by Mr. Castine. Roll call.
Mr. Perrier?
Yes.
Ms. Waldron?
Yes.
Resolution number 98, authorizing memorandum of understanding with New England Waste Services of New York. Legislature.
Moved by Mr. Perrier, second by Mr. Potiker. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution number 99, authorizing contract with Barton and LaJudas DPC relative to the Clinton County Corrective Measures Remedial Treatment System for the 2022 Permit Monitoring and Reporting Services, Solid Waste.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Potiker. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Perrier?
Yes.
Ms. Waldron?
Yes.
Carried.
Resolution number 100, authorizing payment of membership dues and purchasing.
Moved by Ms. Waldron, second by Mr. Hughes. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Perrier?
Yes.
Ms. Waldron?
Yes.
Carried.
Resolution number 101, approving reclassification of a permanent full-time account clerk typist to a permanent full-time senior typist position, public defender.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Hall. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Opposed? Carried.
Resolution 102, approving replacement of a permanent part-time senior typist position with a permanent full-time senior typist position, District Attorney's Office.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Hughes. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution 103, approving backfill of permanent part-time registered professional nurse, Sheriff's Department.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Perrier. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution number 104, approving backfill of permanent part-time registered professional nurse, Sheriff's Department.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Hall. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution 105, approving backfill of permanent full-time registered professional nurse, Sheriff's Department.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Hughes. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution 106, approving backfill of permanent part-time special patrol officer position, Sheriff's Department.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Hall. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution 107, approving backfill of permanent part-time special patrol officer position, Sheriff's Department.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Perrier. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution 108, approving backfill of permanent full-time correction officer position, Sheriff's Department.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Hughes. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution 109, approving backfill of permanent full-time correction officer position, Sheriff's Department.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Hughes. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution 110, approving backfill of permanent full-time correction officer position, Sheriff's Department.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Perrier. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution 111, approving backfill of permanent full-time caseworker position, social services.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Boddicker. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution 112, approving backfill of permanent full-time family support worker position, social services.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Boddicker. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution 113, approving backfill of permanent full-time community services aide position, social services.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Boddicker. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution number 114, approving backfill of permanent full-time clerk position, social services.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Boddicker. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution number 115, approving backfill of permanent full-time recreation director position, social services.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Boddicker. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 116, approving reclassification of a permanent full-time paralegal position down to a permanent full-time senior typist position with backfill, social services.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Boddicker. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution 117, approving backfill of permanent full-time dietary attendant nursing home.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Perrier. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution number 118, approving backfill of permanent full-time environmental services worker position, nursing home.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Perrier. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution number 119, approving backfill of permanent full-time environmental services worker, nursing home.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Perrier. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution number 120, approving backfill of permanent full-time staff nurse position, nursing home.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Perrier. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution number 121, approving backfill of permanent full-time cook manager position, nursing home.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Perrier. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution 122, approving backfill of permanent full-time dietary attendant position, nursing home.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Perrier. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution number 123, approving backfill of permanent full-time senior building maintenance worker position, buildings and grounds.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Brazil. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution number 124, approving backfill of permanent full-time building maintenance worker position, buildings and grounds.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Brazil. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution number 125, approving creation of permanent full-time administrative services officer position, mental health and addiction.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Hughes. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution number 126, approving backfill of permanent part-time account clerk typist position, mental health and addiction.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Hughes. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution number 127, approving backfill of permanent full-time airport maintenance worker 2 position, Plattsburgh International.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Hall. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution number 128, approving backfill of permanent full-time airport maintenance worker 1 position, Plattsburgh International.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Hall. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution number 129, approving creation of a permanent full-time airport firefighter position, Plattsburgh International.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Hall. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution 130, approving backfill of permanent full-time senior account clerk typist position, Plattsburgh International.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Hall. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution number 131, authorizing lease amendments with Safe Tow Towing and Recovery LLC, Plattsburgh International.
Moved by Mr. Hall, second by Mr. Hughes. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Perrier?
Yes.
Ms. Waldron?
Yes.
Carried.
Resolution number 132, authorizing lease agreement with Safe Tow Towing and Recovery LLC, Plattsburgh International.
Moved by Mr. Hall, second by Mr. Perrier. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Perrier?
Yes.
Ms. Waldron?
Yes.
Carried.
Resolution number 133, authorizing the purchasing agent to solicit bids for the Exit Lane Portal Modifications Project, Plattsburgh International.
Moved by Mr. Hall, second by Mr. Hughes. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution number 134, amending resolution number 902 dated November 17, 2021, titled authorizing lease agreement with Prevo Car US DBA Novabus, Plattsburgh International.
Moved by Mr. Hall, second by Ms. Waldron. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Perrier?
Yes.
Ms. Waldron?
Yes.
Carried.
Resolution number 135, amending resolution number 899 dated November 17, 2021, titled authorizing lease agreement with Beta Technologies for building 2774, Plattsburgh International.
Moved by Mr. Hall, second by Mr. Hughes. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Perrier?
Yes.
Ms. Waldron?
Yes.
Carried.
Resolution number 136, amending resolution number 900 dated November 17, 2021, titled authorizing lease agreement with Beta Technologies for Nose Dock number 3, Plattsburgh International.
Moved by Mr. Hall, second by Mr. Perrier. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Perrier?
Yes.
Ms. Waldron?
Yes.
Carried.
Resolution number 137, authorizing payment of 2022 membership dues, Plattsburgh International.
Moved by Mr. Hall, second by Ms. Waldron. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Perrier?
Yes.
Ms. Waldron?
Yes.
Carried.
Resolution number 138, authorizing lease amendment with Exelon Power Labs LLC, Plattsburgh International.
Moved by Mr. Hall, second by Ms. Waldron. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Perrier?
Yes.
Ms. Waldron?
Yes.
Carried.
Resolution number 139, authorizing contract with Plattsburgh North Country Chamber of Commerce, Plattsburgh International.
Moved by Mr. Hall, second by Mr. Perrier. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Perrier?
Yes.
Ms. Waldron?
Yes.
Carried.
Resolution number 140, authorizing master services agreement with C&S Engineers Incorporated for periodic professional services, Plattsburgh International.
Moved by Mr. Hall, second by Mr. Hughes. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Perrier?
Yes.
Ms. Waldron?
Yes.
Carried.
Resolution 141 has been withdrawn this evening. Resolution 142, authorizing contract with Vertiv Corporation, Plattsburgh International.
Moved by Mr. Hall, second by Ms. Waldron. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Perrier?
Yes.
Ms. Waldron?
Yes.
Carried.
Resolution number 143, authorizing contract with Thomas Pickering Esquire, assigned counsel.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Hughes. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Perrier?
Yes.
Ms. Waldron?
Yes.
Carried.
Resolution number 144, awarding bid for one cab chassis with dump body and snowplow, Highway Department.
Moved by Mr. Rosado, second by Mr. Hughes. Discussion?
Just want to remind everybody who's not on transportation, the purchase of these equipment, this money was approved, and this equipment was approved in the budget. This is the process of obtaining the hardware.
Roll call.
Mr. Perrier?
Yes.
Ms. Waldron?
Yes.
Carried.
Resolution number 145, amending resolution number 59, dated January 26, 2022, titled authorizing implementation and funding 100% of the cost of a transportation project of which qualified costs may be reimbursed from Bridge New York funds, highway.
Moved by Mr. Rosado, second by Ms. Waldron. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Perrier?
Yes.
Ms. Waldron?
Yes.
Carried.
Resolution number 146, authorizing contract with Suburban Propane for the year 2022, highway.
Moved by Mr. Rosado, second by Mr. Boddicker. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Perrier?
Yes.
Ms. Waldron?
Yes.
Carried.
Resolution number 147, authorizing the county treasurer to decrease appropriation and corresponding revenue for the capital project titled Environmental Mitigation Perimeter Fence and Access Road Removal Construction, Plattsburgh International.
Moved by Mr. Castine, second by Mr. Hall. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Perrier?
Yes.
Ms. Walter?
Yes.
Carried.
Resolution number 148, authorizing the county treasurer to decrease appropriation and corresponding revenue for the capital project titled Rehabilitation of Runway 1735 Pavement Phase 2 Construction, Plattsburgh International.
Moved by Mr. Hughes, second by Mr. Hall. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Perrier?
Yes.
Ms. Walter? I will say, Chairman, normally we would be, although this is good news, normally we'd be ecstatic when the cost of that project decreases. That project was fully funded, even the local share, due to CARES Act money, so we saved the federal government money here, but it's a good thing. Resolution number 149, authorizing the county treasurer to decrease appropriation and corresponding revenue for the State Law Enforcement Terrorism Prevention Program Grant, Sheriff's Department.
Moved by Ms. Baldwin, second by Mr. Castine. Discussion. Roll call.
Ms. Perrier?
Yes.
Ms. Walter?
Yes.
Carried.
Resolution number 150, approving appointments to the Clinton, Essex, Franklin Library Board, Legislature.
4-3. Everybody? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Does anyone have anything else further to come before the legislature?
Can I ask a question on all those hires?
Yeah, Joe?
Are there eligible lists for all those jobs, or like we're gonna be getting those employees shortly, or?
I mean, a lot of the positions are labor class or non-competitive, so there aren't tests, but majority of these, there are eligible lists, but there's not many people on them. And so what we find is that we canvass those people on the list, and they don't want the job, so we end up hiring provisionals.
It looked like a lot of them were move ups. Move up, move up.
Correct, yeah,
move
a
up.
position necessitates 3 resolutions.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, if you have somebody within, in the house that could elevate.
Yeah, somebody goes to a supervisor, is a person below him goes up to his, and the person below him, every one of them is a resolution.
Just remember too, there was a lot of them here because we didn't have a January personnel meeting.
That's too much work, yeah.
Mr. Perrier?
I just want to get the feelings of all you legislators. I'm trying to plan a trip to New Leaf, Lime Mountain, the Maple Syrup place. And if I can get enough interest, I'm going to work with Mike and try to arrange a trip up there for everybody to see how they do it.
Yeah, Mr. Perrier called me, and I'm embarrassed to say that we have a very robust company in Mr. Perrier's area that I believe is a hidden gem, and I think if we could find a day to get some sort of course scheduled, I think it would benefit the whole group to get out to area 2.
I don't know, it's very good to get birch, syrups.
But
if
this,
that doesn't work, that's also a good idea for an inter-county of the Adirondack meeting as well. Because I was thinking between the Lime Mountain Mining Museum and New Leaf would incorporate quite easily, but if we weren't separate for that meeting.
Lime Mountain Museum is open right now. And when they're
Well, I
open,
mean,
New Leaf will be.
we'll be in November, but New Leaf may be closed.
But I got a full tour last week. They bottle, they ship all over the United States, actually all over the world. They bottle it right there, they label it just like a canning. It's pretty impressive.
When is the best time?
I'd
for
say
that?
maybe in the middle of March, somewhere around the middle of March. I don't know what week we've got going on, but I'll check it out, talk to them.
So okay, because mid-March, we're in Albany.
Yeah.
So probably the week after that would be the best time.
And while we're at it, I think we should take a trip for Standish too, so everybody can see parts of Clinton County they probably haven't seen before.
Everybody knows Stan.
I've been to the mine shop.
No blame.
It's a river run.
Well, you can go to or go home from that.
Yes, I think it'd be worth us spending some time as a group to see some of these industries and pieces of the county
I
that don't
think that
always
we
get.
should do this maybe quarterly in different areas, that I'm not familiar with, like Calvin's area. You probably have something to show us, but it's good that we know
Good idea.
the complete.
I'm actually still waiting to get a tour of Shooters.
We can make that happen.
Biggest place in the county, I'd like to see, and it rolls so fast. Like
And growing, and continuing to grow.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to see. And I've also talked to, Soil and Water, told them what my plans were, so maybe we can, and if they'd like to come, we can coordinate with them too.
So I will work with you then.
Yeah, I'll see if I can get a date, talk to you about the date, and we'll set it up.
Thank you.
Sounds like a picnic.
Anybody else have anything else?
I'll be working on something to have us all visit the Click Community College too and get a guided tour. I don't know how many of you have been to some of their new buildings. I was pretty impressed.
It is, I think the last tour we had was in contemplation of the capital project of the Moore Building. If, I know we've been up there periodically, but if folks have not seen the finished product up there, it's quite impressive. So I think that's a great idea as well.
And I think, again, we should go as a group and might open our eyes to, I mean, we finance a lot of that college, so it might help some folks see where our money's going.
Speaking for myself, I'd be glad to take any tours of our companies that's working in Clinton County, just for familiarize myself with it. You know, that I can tell other people how it looks. I mean, you know, we are in charge of the county.
I'm the first one to sign up for your maple syrup tour.
Anybody have anything else? I'd like to entertain a motion to enter into executive session to discuss a matter of existing litigation.
6:01 p.m.
6:01. Motion by Patty, second by Francis. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All set?
All set, sir.
I need a motion to adjourn. Motion by Patty, second by Francis. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everybody.